friends, welcome to the online lecture series on earthquake resistant design of structures. The objective of today's video is to give you an idea or an overview about the different aspects that we are going to discuss during the course of this project. So without any delay, let us start. Right. So necessity is the mother of all inventions. Now you have all heard this phrase very well, and it is applicable to most of the scientific inventions that have taken place. And when you talk about earthquake engineering, then in case of earthquake engineering also it is no different. Why? Because scientists and researchers worldwide have accepted the fact that it is easier to control the effect of man-made disasters as compared to that of the natural disasters. Why? Because the prediction of the occurrence of event is possible in case of man-made disasters, but the prediction of events in case of natural disaster is not possible. That is why the extent of damage that is likely to be caused in case of natural disaster is much higher as compared to that of the man-made disasters. Right? So earthquake is also one such natural disaster which cannot be predicted, or the occurrence of that event or the frequency of the occurrence of the event cannot be predicted, and hence as a result of that the world is facing a problem that the estimate of the damage that is likely to be caused by earthquake is not to be predicted, right? So as a result of that, a need arises that we need to develop a theory, or we need to develop a method which would help us to resist this natural disaster in a better way and make the world a safer place, right? So this subject is going to help us understand the importance of having earthquake resistant designs in order to have a safer world. Now, when we talk about the syllabus, as you can see in the bar chart over here, the flow chart over here, the subject starts with the, means it is going to give you a basic idea about the fundamental concepts and the principles and the application of earthquake engineering in the design of earthquake resistant structures. So the first unit of the subject is going to discuss about the ground motion. So when we talk about the ground motion, we all know that earthquake is basically what you can say, earthquake is basically all about motion. That is the motion, that is the motion between the plates, right? So when you talk about ground motion, the subject starts with the concept of the seismology. So the Earth's geology is discussed. Then the different types of seismic waves are discussed. After that, the difference between magnitude and intensity is explained. And after that, the application of earthquake engineering will be discussed in that first unit. Then the next part is, once we have developed the basic understanding regarding the causes of earthquake, then when the basic understanding is developed, then the next part that comes is regarding the concept of earthquake resistant design structure. And in that case, in the second unit, the focus is on the irregularity in the structure, right? So when you talk about irregularity of the structures, the irregularity of the structures are discussed in two types. First is the mass irregularity, first is the plan irregularity, and second is the vertical irregularity, right? So when you talk about vertical irregularity, the vertical irregularity is the setbacks that are going to be there in the height of the along the height of the structure. And when you talk about the plan irregularity, then the plan irregularity can be discussed in terms of the setbacks in the dimensions in the plan of the structure, right? So the second unit is going to discuss regarding the concept of earthquake resistant design of structures in case of irregularities of the structure. And once these irregularities are equally means once these irregularities are clearly understood by us, then we'll be focusing on the solutions that can be adopted in order to have a better performance of a regular structures in case of earthquake forces, right? So in that case, we'll be talking about the different types of irregularities like the soft story, then the sub column, then mass irregularity, stiffness irregularity, then adjoining effect of earthquake on adjoining buildings. These are the different concepts that we'll be taking one by one and discussing them in detail. Once this particular aspect is clear, then the third thing will be the calculation of earthquake force, and that comes under the unit of lateral load distribution, right? So in case of lateral load distribution, the code is going to give us a couple of philosophies based on which we are going to do the calculation. For example, seismic coefficient method, that is going to be used for static analysis, and time history method and response factor method is going to be used for the dynamic response, right? Now, as we all know, the structures are going to be of two types. First is known as the low rise structure, second is the high rise structure. So in case of low rise structure, the code is suggesting that you can go for the seismic coefficient method, the static analysis, whereas in case of high rise structures, you need to go for the dynamic response of the structure, that is the time history method or the response spectrum method, right? So there are two codes that we are going to discuss basically. First is the IS 1893 and second is the IS 13920. IS 1893 is going to help us understand the calculation of this lateral load and distribution of these forces along the height of this structure, right? So it is giving you the calculation methods for both the static analysis also as well as the dynamic analysis also, right? So the third unit is going to focus on the lateral load distribution along the height of this structure. Once this particular aspect is clear, then we come to the fourth unit, which is known as the ductility. So in that, the focus is going to be on the ductile behavior of the structure. Why? Because once we have already understood the lateral load distribution, then we'll also get an idea about the behavior of the structure that is likely to be possible, right? So now we want to ensure that the structure should not collapse. That is the basic design philosophy that the earthquake resistant structure follows, right? So in order to avoid the structure to collapse, it is necessary to make the structure ductile. And in order to achieve ductility, we need to make some necessary changes in the detailing of the structure. And this detailing is explained by means of IS 13920-2016. So we'll be talking about the different clauses that are mentioned in IS 13920-2016. And we'll also look at the couple of examples by means of diagrams, that is the longitudinal section of beams, columns, beam column joint, the performance of shear walls, location of shear walls in plan, and the dual system, that is the column frame structure as well as the shear wall system, right? So these are all different aspects that we'll be talking about in the case of ductility. That is the fourth unit. And last in the final unit is the earthquake resistant design and the structural controls. So now once all the four concepts that are there, right from the ground motion to ductility, are clear to us, then we can focus on the earthquake resistant design by means of software. Then in case of software, we'll be taking help of STAAD.Pro and ETABS, which are worldwide accepted software. And we use these software in order to apply whatever we have seen in the first four units that we are going to discuss in the detail. And once these four units are done, and we are also through with the earthquake resistant design of structures, then the last unit will be focusing on the structural controls. What is structural control? So in case of structural control, there are two aspects. First is the active control and second is the passive control, right? So if I give the example of active control, then you will immediately come to know that base isolation is an example of active control, and similarly dampers are an example of passive control. So we'll be focusing in this last unit of structural controls on the active controls and passive controls. That is the principle of base isolation, the need of base isolation, consideration of base isolation, right? And what are the key elements or key components of base isolation system. And once we are done with that, lastly we'll be focusing on the different types of damper, that is the viscous damper, Kuhn-Mass damper, friction damper, and also the need of provision of these dampers or base isolation systems in the structure and the role that they are going to play in order to enhance the performance of structure during the earthquake resistant design, right? So if you look at the overall syllabus, then it is going to give you a very detailed information regarding all the different aspects that are necessary for earthquake resistant design of the structures, right? We are going to start with the very basic, that is the geology of the earth, right? That is the cause of the earthquake. And from there on, we'll go and apply the latest technology of structural controls, that is the base isolation and dampers, right? So the the syllabus is structured in such a way that it will give you a detailed insight into the entire concept of earthquake engine. Right. Next, we come to the part of applications. So here I have shown three different components. First is the RCC building, second is the steel building, and third is the special structure. So when you talk about RCC buildings, then in case of RCC buildings, you can say that any type of RCC structure that you are going to construct on the surface of the earth needs to be designed for earthquake resistant design of structures. Why? Because the code itself is telling you, if you go and refer the preface of the code, then in case of preface, it is clearly mentioned that if you want your structure, or if you are considering your structure to be remain standing during the earthquake, then it has to be compulsory design as per the guidelines of IS 1893, right? So that is why I have taken the example of security cabin as the first example. That because why we consider security cabin to be a very small structure, and we feel that there is no need to apply earthquake force, but it is not the case, because the code is clearly telling that any structure you want to design on the surface of the earth or you want to construct, then it has to be an earthquake resistant structure. So we cannot ignore a very small structure like security cabin also, right? So in case of RCC building, it is going to be security cabin, then low rise structures, then high rise structures, and skyscrapers. Then we come to steel building. In case of steel buildings, we are going to have the warehouses, manufacturing plants, industrial units, pharmaceutical units, pipe racks, belt conveyors, because all these different systems which are going to be under the case of material handling system. And in case of steel structures, most, as you can see, the examples that I have listed are related to the industries, and industries form an integral part of the economic growth of a country, right? So if any kind of damage is going to occur in these kind of structures, then as a result of that, what is going to happen is that the entire production is going to be affected, and once the production is affected, then it in the long term it is going to have an effect on the growth of the company as well as the economy of the country, right? So as a result of that, damage is not at all advisable in case of steel structures that are constructed or erected in industries. So as a result of that, these structures also need to be specifically designed for earthquake resistant design. Now there is another matter that whether the steel structures are going to be governed by earthquake forces or wind forces, that we need to check, right? What we need to do is we need to calculate the base shear for wind forces and earthquake forces, and whichever is going to be on the higher side, that particular force has to be considered in the design, right? So that is a different aspect that we will look into afterwards. And the last category that I have put up is the special structure, that is the design of silos, chimneys, water tanks, and the nuclear power plant. These are all special structures, right, which are directly related to the economy of the country. Imagine a situation where a nuclear power plant is going to damage or going to be affected during the case of earthquake. And if that particular plant stops, then as a result of that, what is going to happen? It is going to affect the economy of the country, right? So as a result of that, these are some special structures which cannot be ignored in case of earthquake resistant design of structures. Where if you look at it in the entire phenomena, then you can say that right from security cabin to nuclear power plant, all the structures that are there, or the structures that you are going to construct on the surface of the earth, each and every structure should be designed for earthquake resistant design, right? So same thing that I have discussed in the previous slide, I have put up here in the form of photographs, where the first photograph on the left hand side is the photo of the pipe rack system, that is you can see in the case of industries. The second reason is regarding the battery of silos, right? The battery of silos you can see in case of manufacturing units or pharmaceutical units or food and beverage industries, you will see this type of structures at a regular level. And the last photograph is regarding the skyscrapers. So skyscrapers also, depending upon the height of the structure, the definition is given in IS 16900, which will define the different types of skyscrapers. Lastly, we look at the different reference books that you are going to use during the course of this subject to refer. So S.K. Duggal, that is Earthquake Resistant Design of Structures, is a very important book that you need to refer, and remaining books are going to be regarding the design of RCC structure, design of steel structure, and the seismic design of reinforced concrete and masonry building. Why these books are also mentioned? That is, for example, reinforced concrete structure volume 1. Now this is a very basic book that we are referring right from the stage of B, but even then it is mentioned over here. The reason being that is all the subjects of designing that you have studied earlier are going to be linked with this earthquake engineering subject, and as a result of these basic books are also listed here in the case of reference books. And last but not the least, the reference codes. Why? Because the subject of earthquake engineering is incomplete without the use of these reference codes that are listed over here. IS 456, we all know the importance of IS 456, that any RCC structure or any RCC element that you would need to design has to follow the guidelines that are mentioned in IS 456 2000. So as a result of that, IS 456 2000 is the first code that is listed over here. Second is IS 875 part 1 to part 5, which is going to discuss regarding the different types of loads that are applied in case of industrial structures, right from dead load, live load, wind load, snow loads, and last is the special load. Right, so part 1 to part 5, IS 875 specifically for the industrial structure. Then IS 1893 2016, as we have seen, that is Indian standard criteria for earthquake resistant design of structure. Right, so it is going to give you an in-depth analysis or in-depth guideline of the different types of clauses and different type of earthquake parameters that you need to select according to the system that you are going to adopt for earthquake resistant design of structure. And last thing is IS 13920, because we have seen that lateral load distribution concept can be understood, and we can also come to know the distribution that is going to take place along the height. But after the distribution, the behavior of the structure is important, and we want the ductile behavior of the structure. So in order to achieve the ductile behavior of the structure, the application of IS 13920 becomes critical. Why? Because if you are going to detail your elements in such a manner that it is going to perform in ductile, it is going to undergo ductility, then and only then the overall ductile behavior of the structure is going to be possible. Otherwise, it is not going to be possible. Right? So the clauses mentioned in IS 13920 2016 are also very important when it comes to the part of detailing. Right? So that is all on this brief intro from my side. Stay tuned for the further lecture. Thank you.